I am very excited to have Alex Brower again with us today. Alex, thanks for being here again. For those who haven't seen Alex, Alex is the founder and CEO of QFlow AI, a comprehensive go-to-market finance platform that leverages AI to power your revenue planning and analysis. Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Anthony. Glad to be back.
Alex, I'm super excited today. I think this is going to be really interesting for our customers, for our audience. You have graciously accepted going through the platform today and showing us a little bit under the hood of how QFlow works and how you help your customers, which I know everybody's going to really enjoy. But before we hop in, I think it'd be really interesting if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about the origin story. How did you as the founder get QFlow started? What really inspired the idea? And what gave you what I call the courage to get out and make it happen?
Oh, great question. The short answer is just real life. My background is in finance and operations. I did do a stint as a VP of marketing. And so I've really seen the dynamic that gets created when CEOs are rightly asking more of their CFOs. They're asking them to get much more involved, to partner deeply with go-to-market leaders and RevOps, and ultimately to minimize costs and maximize growth. And having seen this as a VP of finance and as a VP of marketing, which is a story for another day, I've seen the dynamic that this creates. It's usually one of contention rather than conversation or collaboration. And what's at fault, really, it's a data problem. We've got gaps between sales and marketing math and finance math. And this becomes an organizational problem. The people who want to be on the wrong page thrive. The people who want to be on the right page, which is the majority of the organization, are frustrated and demoralized. Typically, what we've seen is decision-making latency is too high. We spend a bunch of time reconciling sales math, marketing math, and finance math. And the truth is, it's not finances or RevOps' fault. None of these folks have the time to truly dig in on what we call go-to-market finance. Everyone's got 18 other things on their plate. And really, when we think of what's at stake, it's top line growth, right? Is leadership aligned enough to align their teams? It's forecast accuracy. Is our rolling forecast as comprehensive and accurate as possible? And it's go-to-market efficiency, right? Do each of the people in the weekly executive staff meeting understand really the value of and the cost of their effort? And so that really, it's a problem that I've lived. And when I hooked up with my co-founder, and we realized there's a completely different tool set from the BI tools, the Excel spreadsheets, the manual, 3-paragraph long SQL queries. This was something that I was compelled to do. Because if we can democratize this for every B2B company, and that's the hardest part of really planning and analysis from the finance perspective. Most companies can do FP&A in a spreadsheet if we're only focused on the cost. And so, this is where the intersection of finance and RevOps is really important. The tough stuff is the revenue stuff. So I was compelled to start it.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that in my experience too. And I think the industry has done a pretty good job recently of getting sales, marketing, customer success aligned in a way that's really conducive to moving the company vision forward. But I do still feel like there's a divide between go-to-market and finance. And I don't really know the dynamics that cause that or create that. I'm sure they're similar to what created chasms between sales, marketing, and CS. But I don't know. Why do you think there is such a tough time getting those teams to communicate and get on the same page?
So for the reason, first, I mentioned resource constraints. That's for sure part of it. Even if you've got a 7-person finance team, you think about the types of roles you would have at that, call it 20, $30 million ARR company. You realistically might have 2 people with the skill set to dig into some of this stuff. It's not going to be real time. It's going to be one-off. It's going to be frustrating. But I think that the broader thing is that this is something that we've sort of learned to accept, not because we like it, but because there's been no other way. It's a hard problem to solve. Ideally, you'd have, BI analysts, data engineers. You'd have the RevOps analysts and the FP&A folks in the same room collaborating on this stuff. That's not realistic for a lot of organizations. Even the organizations that have it, they're still reverting back to spreadsheets, and it takes analysts to get the executives out of the BI tool who are there digging for insights. So it's a tool problem, and RevOps deserves a better tool to get finance what they need, and finance deserves a better tool to truly meet their counterparts in go-to-market the way they deserve to be treated, which is not straight lining assumptions or just saying we're going to add this headcount and this is what's possible. It's about really getting in to the operational data across marketing and sales and go-to-market teams, and bridging that gap with the world of finance. So I would say it's no one's fault, but we don't have to live with it anymore.
Absolutely makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. And for the customers that have had really good implementations of QFlow, how are you seeing it change your organization, and what are you seeing them able to do after really going all in on QFlow?
Yeah. So first, just because it's a hot topic, they're actually able to leverage generative AI. Um, right now, generative AI is good at a lot of things. It's not good at math. Uh, it's not good at if you throw unstructured, messy data at it. So customers that use QFlow, they get the data prep, the data munging, the normalization, the data dictionary, all built for them. And we've identified the 95%, 5% of use cases in terms of addressing the idiosyncrasies with your CRM, with your accounting platform. We're able to do most of that stuff out of the box and deliver things like your go-to-market finance stats to you, all your revenue waterfall stats, all your board stats. What this means is that you can actually then start to ask an agent to provide insights. And we'll see a little bit more on that once we jump into the products. I think in this list is in probably increasing order of importance. Companies that truly adopt QFlow, which, by the way, takes about 30 minutes of effort on the front end, you're up and running same day, they see an increased alignment because now finance, sales, and marketing are at the same table with the same definitions. I know you've probably seen different definitions across teams in the past. And the reason they're at the same table is because that's where the best practice 12-month rolling forecasts are being put together, and different teams are collaborating around scenario planning. Time is freed up for higher order decisions. At one of our companies I just spoke with 2 days ago, they freed up 2 full-time analysts for higher order analytics and decision making, and they're actually canceling their Tableau subscription. But organizationally, it's about getting everyone on the same page. It's alignment, it's improving the decision latency, and it's about creating accountability.
That's great. Yeah, I think surfacing the insights is the part that really excites me the most. So that way you can make the best decisions possible. I think it's really hard to do. You could have a complete whirlpool of reporting and dashboards that are built, but if you're not really making meaning of the data, it's tough to know what to do with it. Alex, I think it'd be great to hop in Share a little bit about how people can leverage QFlow and show off some of the main use cases that your customers are enjoying today.
Wonderful. Let's start with something that might be familiar to people. So, my favorite question to ask in a discovery call nowadays is specifically when I'm with a VP of finance, but the same goes for VP of marketing and sales as well, is I just ask, what is the data readout portion of your executive staff meeting look like when it comes to go to market? And I get eye rolls sometimes from finance. I sometimes get eye rolls from sales. You know, there's this disconnect that we talked about. And so one of the things that QFlow does is it brings everybody into one platform and focuses them on the most material parts of the business that they should be looking at. What we've got organizations doing is using our business digest, which summarizes changes between two dates and applies a materiality threshold by business unit. And effectively what we're seeing here is the biggest changes in pipeline and deals pushing and pulling being called out at a deal level, and everything else being grouped up. And as with anything on QFlow, I can always get to the underlying source of truth and all the way back to the system of record. I should mention the systems of record. QFlow starts with a CRM integration. That's the only thing that's required. We also pull in your data from a marketing automation platform, and importantly, your accounting platform, QuickBooks, NetSuite, et cetera, so that we can help you automate this data munging, data transformation process and deliver insights like these to you out of the box. We'll show you where you sit for the quarter, what your top open deals are, how that compares to last quarter. Importantly, I think how attainment compares to last quarter. Hopefully you're a part of a growing organization, so simply comparing two real numbers doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We want to understand how does attainment look against plan, against goal, which is all tracked in QFlow, quarter over quarter against a reference quarter.
That's something, Alex, I just want to add something that I think is something we include in our analytics training module, is adding context to the data. So that example exactly of mapping all of your data to goals, because as you mentioned, you're scaling, you're growing. So of course, maybe it's double of what it was last year, but your goal may have been to triple that number. So it doesn't mean you're doing well. So I really like that you can integrate the goal setting to the go-to-market metrics and then put it in this brief right here.
You got it. Goals and quota. The other way we've got companies using this is if you've got a board advisor who's maybe a bit nosy and you talked to him 2 weeks ago and you're a CRO or a head of operations or a CEO, you can pull this thing up, adjust the dates, and you'll be the smartest person she or he has probably talked to in a couple of weeks, because you'll be able to rattle off the most material stuff. Typically, the way companies are using this, I mentioned the executive leadership team meeting use case. They're clicking this button. We give it, 20 seconds here. It's going to take all this process data from QFlow, and it's going to generate a memo that I can send off to my team and start the conversation before the executive leadership team meeting about what we should be talking about. And obviously I can come in here. I'm not one to say, dear team, generative AI is not perfect, but it's going to pretty accurately put together an email, the likes of which you've probably seen before. I can format this thing, send it out to my team. And when I do that, it's going to send essentially the thumbnail of this. It's going to encourage people to, before the shock and awe of the update in the executive leadership team meeting, encourage people to come in, collaborate around it. We've got comment functionality that allows people to start the conversation early. So this is probably This is a feature that surprised us in its popularity, considering a lot of the more difficult stuff that we do under the hood. But I like it because I hear stories of how it's changing just the dynamic in the most important, one of the most important places. If you can't get your executive leadership team aligned on the data around what's happening, good luck getting them to go off and get their teams aligned on the direction that you're charting for the organization.
Absolutely. And as a former head of RevOps, I was always responsible for drafting up these reports and drafting up these briefs. So to have had it at a click of a button, I think would have been really helpful.
Love it. You were probably also responsible for maybe a couple of these next views. So I should step back really quickly. That Business Digest is the first tab in QFlow. QFlow essentially delivers ways to triangulate your rolling 12-month forecast under this predict section. We deliver various pre-built, or I should say opinionated statistics, which are configurable once you're set up. Around your go-to-market stats. That includes your revenue waterfall and your board stats, which is the type of stuff that, in addition to what you might send your board in terms of operational metrics, I'll pop that open. This is the type of efficiency stuff that they want to see, which usually takes a lot of collaboration between finance and RevOps to do. And then we'll show you some performance drivers. These are things that these are the things that fall in the category of, it takes me 4 days, my team's 4 days to do the analytical prep work to make a 30-minute decision. We want this stuff at your fingertips, from what programs are working most effectively and where dollars are going on the marketing side, what we're seeing for it, all the way to something as tactical as how quickly are SDRs following up on inbound leads, and is that having a material impact on conversion pipeline. So, but let me get back focused on the screen we're looking at here. We've connected our CRM, we've connected our accounting platform, we've connected our marketing platform, and maybe we've defined a couple segments. I think about my business as a customer in terms of, stage, mid-market, SMB, and enterprise. We'll leave government out of it. And what I'm looking at here are the go-to-market stats, which have been automatically calculated out of the box. Let's compare global to mid-market maybe. And I can see the most important stats that an investor and that as an operator, I need to know about to operate my business. And this is not, cobbling together Salesforce reports. It's not going to Snowflake or Tableau, questioning the filters and the assumptions. This stuff is built out of the box. And so we'll show you things like your sales cycle, a distribution curve of your sales cycle. We'll show you activity levels, how many accounts are being touched uniquely, what pipeline is being created. It's fairly comprehensive. What's interesting about this, besides the fact that you can click a button, I don't know your brand colors at LeanScale. I think it's black and white, but I can come in here. Maybe black's not the best idea, but I can come in here, include my brand colors, and download this thing, pop it into my board deck in high resolution, download the CSV if I'd like it, and be on my way, right? They start to imagine where an executive team can start to allocate their time if they're not questioning the go-to-market stats that are presented in the ELT meeting, executive leadership team meeting, and when you're not schlepping data for days leading up to a board meeting.
And I think one of the most complicated aspects of this is to quickly go through the segments. Because if you just layer in a handful of segments into this equation, then it quickly creates hundreds and hundreds of reports that you have to pull, update, change. But to have quick access to that makes it doable to even analyze your business across all these segments this way.
That's absolutely right. And when you start to segment your business, now that assumes you have enough data to segment your business, right? And I'm sure you've been there where you've got a company you're working with where they think about something in very finite segments, but they don't have the volume for the stats to quite be meaningful.
Right, the company with 2 government deals, perhaps.
That's right. When you start to segment your business and you can actually see the delineation in initial deal size and win rate and sales cycle, and this kind of all makes sense, then that's where we recommend building a segmented scenario. And so a scenario on QFlow is really the most intellectually honest way of forecasting the next 12 months of revenue by looking at obviously what's been booked, by looking at your existing pipeline where we deploy small, not generative AI, but small machine learning models to evaluate things like probability of timing, probability of close, same thing for upsell, but we're blending all of that with your revenue waterfall stats. So those stats that I showed you that automatically build after you spend 20 minutes going through our configuration process, those become assumptions in your model, much like they would in a spreadsheet that sits off the side of the desk of CFO. That then marketing loses visibility to, that then sales stops caring about because all they're focused on is what's going to close this quarter. And so this is a multi-quarter view that's giving you the ability to bring those people to the table as a RevOps professional, as an operator, as a CFO, and have a real conversation about assumptions moving forward. This is typically where we see people, and I don't think we'll have time today, but where we see people get into some of those performance drivers. What does timing look like? What is what does impact on pipeline look like when we do X, Y, or Z? We see companies can come in here, modify the, let's say, Anthony, you're a master in increasing initial deal size. So we'll make those assumptions. I'll come in here and add a description. Anthony's joining the team and will almost double deal size. This is obviously an absurd.
Well, maybe if I join the team, it's possible, but
not absurd for you, of course. But the idea is, in real time, you can come in here, modify your assumptions, see the results in real time over multiple quarters, applying those time-based distribution curves. You can overlay your goals, and importantly, we've got alerts set up so that each of these columns here, which are key drivers of your revenue waterfall, the loop is closed with your go-to-market stats. And so let me just select segment. So I can see what my assumption was for one of these core stats by segment, and QFlow has agents that will run, which will alert you to any deviation from plan.
Very, very smart. So you can actually benchmark within that segment whatever your average days to close, your deal size. So you can benchmark that plan to the actuals that are occurring during that period.
That's right. And on a move forward basis, you're going to get monitoring of budget versus actuals. In fact, for this particular scenario, this is telling me that the win rate that I've entered is now lower than average. So either I've made some sort of a pessimistic assumption here, or because the revenue waterfall stats update in real time, something has changed and may need my attention. And if I weren't such a curmudgeon, I would come in here and put 28% as the win rate, commit those changes. We should see a slight increase in, there we go, in our revenue waterfall and our 12-month forecast. And now it's no longer complaining that that we're outside the normal bounds of that particular stat.
So this feels very similar to a process at LeanScale. We call it growth modeling, which sounds similar to what we're doing here. Set a top line revenue goal, reverse engineer what you need based on your funnel metrics. We do it in Google Sheets or Excel, so obviously some manual aspects of that. But do you see some of your customers fully adopting this to build their go-to-market operating plan?
The answer to that is yes, and that's in conjunction with a couple other views. And those couple other views really revolve around forecast triangulation. Currently, we're not, we enable companies to triangulate against sales ramp time and things like headcount. But what drives the multi-quarter forecast and what aligns with companies that have like dedicated go-to-market finance teams working on this in terms of methodology is what you're seeing here. Our vision is to deliver the firepower of that 10 person go-to-market finance team. If you know, I've been in the VP finance role. You would, even to this day, I'd be hard pressed to completely abandon Excel or a spreadsheet. But there's a time and a place for certain things. And for example, analyzing the 4 to 5 gigabytes of data around sales activity that's being logged, that's not a place for Excel. Keeping all of this stuff updated in real time and auditable at a deal level for a team is not something that most companies want to do in Excel or can do in Excel. So that's the answer is yes. We have companies that have completely shifted their growth modeling to QFlow. We also have some companies who absolutely love Google Sheets and love their fairly complicated top line growth model that they've built in Excel, and they've hooked into our API to get a real-time feed of the segmented revenue waterfall stats. It saves them a ton of time, and so that's why they do it.
Very nice. It's super impressive. I mean, I think of all the things you can do in RevOps and go-to-market ops, I think this is the highest order of value, to have a plan that's aligned with your actual funnel metrics, and then also ensure that you're meeting the components of that plan. I think it's one of the most important parts of the job. So anything that can help surface this or automate it is massively impactful.
We agree. If we got a couple minutes, I can show you what's possible if you hook up, if you hook up QuickBooks, or if you hook up NetSuite, or if you send us your departmental spend. So one of the toughest things, and I'm curious your take on this, where do you normally see, who normally is maintaining the ARR waterfall?
We tend to, if it's not us, then it's living in finance. But it's usually a manual process. We have a couple customers where we've pulled it off and building it in Salesforce. Usually they have relatively simple business models though. So once there's different types of revenue, different schedules, just more complexity to it, it becomes a little bit difficult to do in Salesforce. Otherwise, finance will tend to keep it in a spreadsheet.
Yeah. And that's generally what we see. So our board stats view is differentiated from the go-to-market stats view in that this is like the sexy stuff that's really important, by the way, that your board might ask you for. And so, out of the box, if your contract details are in your CRM, and whether that's at a detailed level, like at the opportunity line item, or at the opportunity level, we will automatically create a default ARR waterfall for you. Now, obviously, there are micro exceptions to this stuff. Let's say you close a 3-month deal and you don't want to book it as an annualized figure because it could churn. You have the ability to come in. We've got a full audit trail for tracking your ARR schedule and any overrides that take place. Some of those more advanced use cases, Anthony, that you mentioned, will live outside of Salesforce. They may live in the accounting platform itself. You may want to derive ARR by using invoice data or billing data from Stripe or some other third party. We support that as well, and we make it easy to essentially reconcile. You can think of some business models which, for example, require a bunch of professional services to implement, and there's a lag, or there's a big usage component, and some portion of that usage you want to treat as recurring. That's Salesforce not going to be the right place to do that. So you're going to want to send QFlow your billing data, and we're going to help you understand that lag in terms of essentially booking to ARR recognition and the distribution curve of usage. So that ultimately feeds back into the scenarios, more advanced use case. But for your average company who's SaaS upfront, this is the Salesforce view is probably going to work out of the box. And month by month or quarter by quarter, we're going to show you how ARR changed. Right? We're also going to pull in your marketing, your sales expense to show you how cost of customer acquisition is changing month over month, with those expenses essentially coming directly from NetSuite and with the fine-tuned control to make sure that only the people who should see this stuff can see it. And we're also going to calculate things like your gross margin, which this is kind of trending the right direction, your magic number, and probably a popular one that you guys look at, your net and your gross dollar retention. And these are going to build out of the box, again, all with the drill downs. And depending on your sales cycle, for example, for CAC, you're going to be able to offset the acquisition costs in accordance. So it's essentially a bulletproof best practice way to put some of these stats together that, for a busy operator, this is a real pain in the to put together right before a board meeting.
Well, and I really like that you have the guidance built into, not just the power to be able to automate the calculations, which is great in and of itself, but also saying, hey, this is in general how most people would measure it. In general, these are the most important stats. And I find a lot of the companies that we work with, this gives them a huge leg up from where they were before.
Yeah, it's a blueprint. It's a blueprint, and if your data is not in the right spot to be able to do this stuff, then you're going to have a problem. We didn't preview that, but on certain views, you'll see a little warning alert here that tells you, for example, that hey, your forecast categories in Salesforce, there's a logical discrepancy. Your forecast number could be wrong, or you're not tracking opportunity contacts against closed won deals. Why not? You should do that, right? These are some of the best practice things that you guys go in and obviously create validation rules and educate people about. Some of that stuff, like data's got to be in a good place. Then you need a blueprint to make that data really into a data dictionary and into a definition dictionary, which is what we're doing with the stats. That stuff needs to be segmented. To your point, that adds a whole ton of time and effort. And then what do you do with that stuff? It's really about getting smart about growing your business more efficiently, effectively, understanding what's working and what's not, and creating more accurate forecasts. But I can't underemphasize the importance of the organizational impact that getting everyone on the same page has. It's at the end of the day, I was talking to someone the other day. It's really, we talk about go-to-market analytics all day long. And at the end of the day, what we're really talking about is accountability and someone leaning forward in the organization and keeping everyone else in the room and each of us keeping one another accountable to the data, to the fidelity of the data, and to the plan that we've put together. Because ultimately, this is a cross-functional exercise. And it should not just be finance, sitting in a closet somewhere counting beans and making the ARR waterfall in a spreadsheet. So it's really about the how you can use data now in 2024 to bring people to the table. And there's probably one last thing that I should probably demo for you quickly here. We looked at some of the generative AI stuff with respect to the Business Digest. But we've got this thing QPilot, which is embedded in every view on QFlow. And it's your co-pilot for go-to-market finance. So I can ask it questions like, what was my ending ARR in March 2024? We are in 2024, right? Yeah.
I don't know. It's going by so fast. Sometimes I'm not sure.
And it has knowledge of all the different pieces of QFlow, and this is really designed for busy executives who don't want to navigate yet another UI. And so here it tells me my ending ARR was 48.4 million. That's pretty good. All right, 48.4 million. That's pretty good. Let's ask it what the composition of changes, what drove that change in March 2024 to get us to the 48.4 million. And now it's answered, and it's broken down the changes. New logo ARR, recaptured logo, lost logo. And so the vision here really, as I mentioned, is for a busy RevOps professional, busy operator, busy finance professional to be able to speak freely with the data and the insights that have been generated on QFlow.
Yeah, and I also think people expect you to have these stats ready to rattle off at any moment and any day. I know I kind of felt like I was on Jeopardy every single day of my RevOps career. And there's so much data, and especially when you get to a certain level of scale and size, to know everything off the top of your head, it's tough to even have enough dashboards and reports to tell you everything you need to know. So I can see this Copilot being unbelievably powerful for that person in seat who just needs to rattle these stats off or use them in a quick equation, or directly to the executives, as you mentioned, so they can self-serve some of their, we would call them curiosity KPIs. So when they just want to indulge in their curiosities, they don't have to stop the productivity of their teams too.
That's right. I just asked it what our top performing marketing programs were in Q1. And yeah, it's giving me an answer based in terms of attached responses and attached opportunities created using some of the attribution pieces of QFlow. So you can start to see how your average head of ops, this is a significant project to put this stuff together, and to be able to simply ask the question while you're meeting with the head of demand gen, while you're having a conversation, really is a game changer in terms of reducing that decision-making latency problem that we were talking about earlier.
This is great. This is absolutely great. Yeah, I can definitely see it being leveraged real time in a meeting, or as you're working on your own analysis or plan. Quick access to these numbers is massively impactful. Awesome, Alex. This was so great. I know QFlow is such a powerful platform. You have so much to offer and go through. I wish we could go all through it in one time, but I know we're probably going to have you back to do some deeper dives. And I've also noticed you've released so many new features since the last time I've taken a look at the platform. So congratulations. I think your speed of development is incredibly impressive, and I can't wait to see what you guys come out with next. But Alex, thank you so much. QFlow AI, super impressive. For those who have watched it, what's the best way to get in touch with you and get a hold of you and learn more?
Yeah, obviously you can visit us at QFlow.ai. You can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in Alex Brower. And those are probably the two best ways to get in touch with me nowadays.
Awesome. Alex, thank you so much. Can't wait to have you back again. Appreciate it. And I know our customers and audience are going to really appreciate it as well.
Awesome. We've got more to cover and anytime. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Anthony.